The years that followed the victory at Proxima Centauri IV marked a turning point for humanity and the Terran Alliance. The galaxy had seen what Earth was capable of, not just in terms of military strength, but also in its ability to adapt, rebuild, and grow. Yet, the shadow of past conflicts lingered, and the lessons learned from those battles shaped every decision moving forward. Laura Bennett became a symbol of resilience and diplomacy. Her tireless efforts to mend broken relationships earned her the nickname the Bridge Builder. She traveled across star systems, meeting with leaders of species both old and new, sharing stories of Earth's struggles and triumphs. Her message was simple: no one benefits from division. By working together, all species could achieve more than they ever could alone. One of her most significant achievements came when she brokered an agreement between two warring factions, the aquatic Valans and the insectoid Krillians. These two species had clashed over territory for centuries, their hatred fueled by misunderstandings and mistrust. Laura spent months traveling between their worlds, listening to their grievances and finding common ground. When the treaty was signed aboard the Odyssey, now repurposed as a diplomatic vessel, it marked the beginning of a fragile but hopeful peace. Both sides credited Laura's patience and empathy for bringing them to the table. Admiral Christopher Hayes, though retired, remained an influential figure. His memoirs became required reading for young officers entering Earth's defense forces. In quiet chapters, he reflected on the moral complexities of leadership, the burden of difficult decisions, and the importance of remembering why sacrifices were made. He often visited military academies, where cadets eagerly sought his advice. "Strength isn't about power," he told them during one lecture. "It's about knowing when to use it and when to hold back." Hayes also worked closely with Dr. Emily Dawson, whose research continued to push boundaries. Together, they envisioned a future where technology served not just humanity, but all species. Dawson's team developed tools for terraforming barren planets, creating habitable environments for displaced populations. They also created communication devices capable of translating languages in real time, breaking down barriers between cultures. Hayes admired Dawson's optimism, even as he reminded her to proceed cautiously. "Every invention has consequences," he warned. "We must always ask ourselves if we're ready for them." Despite these advancements, challenges persisted. The Stellar Accord, though weakened after the battle at Proxima Centauri IV, refused to dissolve entirely. Small pockets of resistance remained scattered throughout uncharted space, plotting revenge against Earth. Intelligence reports suggested they were building weapons unlike anything seen before, weapons that could potentially destabilize entire star systems. President Daniel Hart took these threats seriously. Under his leadership, Earth established the Galactic Security Initiative, GSI, a coalition of allied species dedicated to maintaining peace and preventing conflict. The GSI operated independently of the Terran Alliance, focusing solely on intelligence gathering and rapid response to emerging crises. General Rachel Monroe was appointed its first commander, a role she embraced with determination. Monroe's first major operation involved tracking down a rogue scientist named Kale, who had been secretly selling advanced weaponry to the remnants of the Stellar Accord. Kale's inventions included devastating energy cannons capable of destroying moons and disrupting planetary atmospheres. If left unchecked, his work could tip the balance of power in favor of Earth's enemies. Monroe assembled a task force led by Lieutenant Marcus Reed, now a seasoned officer known for his tactical brilliance. Accompanied by a small team of operatives, Reed embarked on a covert mission to locate Kale's hidden lab. The journey took them deep into unexplored regions of space, where stars burned cold and nebulae glowed faintly against the darkness. When they finally found Kale's base, a sprawling facility built into the side of an asteroid, they discovered something unexpected. Kale wasn't working alone. he had recruited followers from various species disillusioned with the Terran alliance. Some believed Earth's rise to power threatened their independence, while others simply craved chaos. Kale promised them revenge, offering his weapons as tools to reshape the galaxy. Reed knew direct confrontation would be risky. Instead, he devised a plan to infiltrate the base and disable its defenses from within. Posing as mercenaries seeking employment, Reed and his team gained access to the facility. Once inside, they planted explosives near key systems while gathering evidence of Kale's activities. The operation went smoothly until the final phase. As Reed prepared to detonate the charges, Kale confronted him. "You think this will stop us?" the scientist sneered. "There are others like me out there. You can't destroy every weapon, every idea." Reed met his gaze calmly. "Maybe not, but we can make sure you don't get the chance to use yours." With that, Reed triggered the explosives, collapsing the base and burying Kale's operation under tons of rubble. Though the scientist escaped in the chaos, his network was shattered and his plans delayed indefinitely. Back on Earth, President, Hart announced the success of the mission, emphasizing the importance of vigilance. "Peace is fragile," he said during a press conference. "We must remain alert, not because we seek conflict, but because we value stability. The Terran Alliance exists to protect, not dominate." His words resonated deeply, especially among younger generations who had grown up hearing stories of Earth's early struggles in the galaxy. For them, the Alliance represented hope, a promise that cooperation could overcome even the deepest divides. Laura saw this shift firsthand during her travels. Young diplomats from various species approached her, eager to learn how humanity had managed to unite so many disparate groups. She shared her experiences openly, encouraging them to focus on understanding rather than fear. "Fear drives division," she told a group of trainees during a seminar. "Understanding builds bridges. Start with curiosity, not assumptions." Her guidance inspired many, including a young Valen named Silra, who later became one of the Alliance's most effective negotiators. Silra often credited Laura with teaching her to see beyond surface differences and recognize shared goals. As decades passed, humanity's influence continued to grow. Colonies thrived, trade routes expanded, and cultural exchanges enriched societies across the galaxy. Earth itself transformed, becoming a hub of innovation and collaboration. Cities adapted to accommodate visitors from other species, blending architecture and traditions in ways that celebrated diversity. Yet even in this era of progress, reminders of the past remained. Memorials dedicated to Ethan Cole stood in every major city, honoring his sacrifice and the ideals he represented. Annual ceremonies brought together people from all walks of life, reaffirming their commitment to peace and unity. Admiral Hayes attended one such ceremony late in his life, standing quietly as speeches were delivered and wreaths laid. Though frail, he still carried himself with dignity, his presence inspiring reverence among those who gathered. When asked to speak, he kept his remarks brief. "Ethan believed in a better future," he said, his voice steady despite his age. "Let us honor his memory by continuing to build it." In the end, humanity's journey through the stars was defined not by conquest or destruction, but by resilience and growth. The scars of Zorath Prime and the battles that followed served as reminders of the cost of survival, but also of the potential for redemption. Through perseverance, compassion, and a willingness to learn, Earth carved out a place among the stars, proving that even the smallest actions could ripple across the galaxy. As Laura looked out at the endless expanse of space one evening, she felt a sense of pride mixed with humility. Humanity had come so far, yet there was still so much to discover. The road ahead would undoubtedly hold challenges, but with each step, they moved closer to a future worth fighting for. And so, humanity pressed onward, guided by the lessons of its history, and the dreams of its people. The galaxy was vast, unpredictable, and full of wonder, and Earth was ready to embrace it all. Years passed since the destruction of Zorath Prime, and humanity had begun to carve a new identity for itself among the stars. The Terran Alliance grew steadily, attracting species who saw value in cooperation rather than conflict. Trade flourished, scientific advancements accelerated, and cultural exchanges became commonplace. Earth's capital city buzzed with activity as diplomats from across the galaxy arrived to negotiate treaties, share knowledge, and forge friendships. But beneath the surface of progress, tensions simmered. Admiral Christopher Hayes had retired from active duty shortly after returning from Zorath Prime. Though hailed as a hero by many, he carried the weight of his decisions like an invisible chain. He spent his days writing memoirs, reflecting on the choices that had shaped humanity's future. In quiet moments, he visited memorials dedicated to Ethan Cole, whose name had become synonymous with sacrifice and courage. Hayes often wondered if Ethan would approve of the path humanity now walked, a path paved with both triumphs and tragedies. Laura Bennett, on the other hand, remained deeply involved in shaping Earth's role in the galaxy. She traveled extensively, meeting with leaders of newly joined species and advocating for policies rooted in fairness and mutual respect. Her efforts earned her widespread admiration, though not without challenges. Some humans criticized her for being too lenient, arguing that strength, not diplomacy, would secure humanity's place among the stars. Others accused her of idealism, claiming that kindness could be mistaken for weakness. Despite the criticism, Laura stood firm in her beliefs. "We have a chance to do better," she often said during speeches. "Let's not repeat the mistakes of the past." Dr. Emily Dawson continued her work on quantum drive technology, pushing boundaries few thought possible. Under her leadership, Earth developed faster, more efficient ships capable of exploring deeper into uncharted space. These advancements opened doors to regions previously unreachable, sparking excitement and caution among scientists and explorers alike. Dawson reminded everyone that exploration came with responsibility. "Every step we take should bring us closer to understanding, not domination," she told a group of young engineers during a lecture. "The galaxy is vast, and we're only visitors here." Despite these strides, threats loomed on the horizon. Rumors spread of a shadowy coalition forming in opposition to the Terran Alliance. Dubbed the Stellar Accord by intelligence, reports, this alliance consisted of rogue factions and disgruntled species angered by humanity's rise to power. Their goal was clear: dismantle the Terran Alliance and restore what they viewed as the natural order, a galaxy ruled by might, not morality. The first sign of trouble came when human colonies near the edge of explored space reported attacks on supply lines. Ships carrying vital resources vanished without a trace, leaving settlers stranded. Investigations revealed evidence of sabotage, damaged engines, stolen cargo, and cryptic symbols left behind at the scenes. It didn't take long for authorities to connect the dots. The Stellar Accord was testing humanity's resolve. President Daniel Hart convened an emergency session with his advisors to address the growing threat. General Rachel Monroe, now leading Earth's defense forces, presented a grim assessment. "They're probing our weaknesses," she explained. "If we don't respond decisively, they'll escalate." Hart nodded, his expression grave. "We can't afford another war, not yet, but we also can't let them think we're vulnerable." A plan was devised. Instead of launching a full-scale counterattack, Earth sent reconnaissance teams to gather intelligence on the Stellar Accord's operations. Laura volunteered to lead one such mission, hoping to open channels of communication before hostilities spiraled out of control. Accompanied by a small team of experts, she boarded a diplomatic vessel equipped with cutting-edge stealth technology. Their journey took them to the outskirts of known space, where stars burned dimly against the endless void. Here, they discovered, a hidden base belonging to the Stellar Accord. Observing from a safe distance, Laura and her team learned that the coalition was far more organized than anyone had anticipated. Dozens of ships patrolled the area, their designs unfamiliar yet menacing. Leaders of various species gathered in council chambers, debating strategies and rallying support. Laura recorded everything, careful not to expose her position. When she returned to Earth, she delivered her findings to President Hart and his advisors. "They're planning something big," she warned. "An attack on one of our major colonies, perhaps even Earth itself." Hart immediately ordered reinforcements to vulnerable locations while strengthening alliances within the Terran Alliance. Diplomatic envoys reached out to neutral species, urging them to choose sides before it was too late. Meanwhile, Monroe prepared military units for potential engagement, ensuring they were ready to strike if necessary. The breaking point came when a human colony on Proxima Centauri 4 fell under siege. The Stellar Accord launched a surprise assault, overwhelming local defenses and taking hostages. Panic spread as news of the attack reached Earth. Protesters demanded swift retaliation, while others called for restraint, fearing escalation into another galactic war. Hayes, though retired, was summoned to consult with military leaders. His experience and insights proved invaluable as plans unfolded. "This isn't just about defending ourselves," he advised. "It's about showing the galaxy that the Terran Alliance stands together. If we falter now, we lose everything we've built." Under Monroe's command, a rescue operation was launched. A fleet of advanced ships, including several equipped with upgraded quantum drives, sped toward Proxima Centauri 4. Laura accompanied the mission, determined to negotiate the release of hostages if given the opportunity. When the fleet arrived, the scene was chaotic. Fires raged across the colony, and debris floated in orbit. The Stellar Accord's ships formed a blockade, daring the Terran Alliance to engage. Monroe gave the order to break through, and the battle began. Human ships darted between enemy vessels, using their superior speed and agility to outmaneuver opponents. Quantum drives allowed them to appear and disappear unpredictably, striking critical blows before vanishing again. Within hours, the tide turned in favor of the Terran Alliance. Realizing they were losing, the Stellar Accord attempted to retreat, but Monroe blocked their escape route. Laura seized the moment. Using a secure channel, she contacted the leader of the Stellar Accord, a reptilian commander named Xylos. "Your fight is over," she said firmly. "Surrender now, and we'll spare your forces. Continue resisting, and you'll face annihilation." Xylos hesitated, his pride warring with pragmatism. Finally, he relented. "We yield," he growled. "But know this, the galaxy will remember what you've done today." Hostages were freed, and the colony secured. As the fleet returned to Earth, celebrations erupted across the planet. Humanity had once again proven its resilience, but the victory came at a cost. Casualties on both sides served as a sobering reminder of the fragility of peace. In the aftermath, President Hart announced a renewed commitment to diplomacy. "War has claimed enough lives," he declared in a global address. "Let us focus on building bridges, not barriers. Let us show the galaxy that humanity values unity above all else." Laura dedicated herself to this cause, traveling tirelessly to mend relationships strained by conflict. Her message resonated with many, inspiring hope for a brighter future. Dr. Dawson continued her research, dreaming of technologies that could benefit all species, not just humans. And Hayes, though retired, found solace in mentoring young officers, passing down lessons learned from years of service. As time went on, the wounds of the past began to heal. The Terran Alliance expanded, welcoming new members eager to contribute to a shared vision of prosperity. Humanity, once seen as a newcomer struggling to find its footing, now stood as a beacon of innovation and cooperation. Yet, the scars of Zorath Prime remained, a reminder of the price paid for survival. For those who lived through it, the memory served as both a warning and a promise. Never again would humanity allow itself to be pushed around, but neither would it forget the importance of compassion and understanding. And so, humanity moved forward, carrying the lessons of its history into the unknown expanse of the cosmos. The road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but with courage, determination, and hope, anything seemed possible. The return journey to Earth was quiet, but tense. The crew of the Vanguard fleet had won a decisive victory, but the cost weighed heavily on everyone's minds. Admiral Christopher Hayes sat alone in his quarters aboard the Odyssey, staring at a blank wall. He couldn't shake the image of Zorath Prime exploding into nothingness. Though he had given the order with full awareness of its consequences, he couldn't stop questioning whether it had been the right choice. On the bridge, Lieutenant Marcus Reed and Commander Lisa Grant worked to keep morale high among the crew. They shared stories of Earth, its sprawling cities, its green forests, and its endless oceans, reminding ever when the fleet finally reached Earth's orbit, the planet below looked peaceful, almost untouched by the horrors of space. Hayes ordered all ships to remain in position, while he traveled down to the surface to report directly to President Daniel Hart. As his shuttle descended through the atmosphere, he gazed out the window at the blue and green world below. For a moment, he allowed himself to feel a flicker of pride. Humanity had proven itself capable of standing toe-to-toe with the most powerful forces in the galaxy. But that pride was quickly overshadowed by guilt. At the United Earth Government headquarters, President Hart waited anxiously for Hayes' arrival. News of the battle and the destruction of Zorath Prime had spread quickly. The public reaction was mixed. Some celebrated the victory, hailing the fleet as heroes who had avenged Ethan Cole and secured humanity's place among the stars. Others mourned the loss of life, questioning whether such devastation had truly been necessary. Protesters gathered outside government buildings, holding signs that read, "Justice, not genocide," and "Remember the innocent." Hayes stepped off the shuttle and was immediately escorted to the Situation Room. Hart stood at the head of the table, his expression unreadable. General Rachel Monroe and Dr. Emily Dawson were also present, along with several other key advisors. The room fell silent as Hayes entered. "Admiral," Hart began, his tone measured, "tell us everything." Hayes took a deep breath and recounted the events leading up to the destruction of Zorath Prime. He described the Council's arrogance, their refusal to negotiate, and the final ultimatum that went unanswered. When he got to the part about firing the Nova Cannon, his voice faltered slightly, but he pressed on. It was the only way to ensure they understood the consequences of their actions, he concluded. We couldn't risk them regrouping or retaliating later. Hart nodded slowly. You did what you thought was best for humanity. I won't second-guess your decision. Not now, not here. But we need to prepare for what comes next. This isn't over. Monroe leaned forward. What do you mean, sir? The Council may be gone, but the galaxy is still full of species who saw what happened. Some will fear us, others will hate us. Either way, we've made enemies today. We need to be ready, Dawson chimed in, her voice soft but firm. And we need to rebuild trust. Destroying Zorath Prime sent a message, yes, but it also painted us as aggressors. If we want allies, we'll have to prove we're more than just a military power. Hart agreed. Which is why I'm announcing the formation of the Terran Alliance. It will be led by humans but open to any species willing to work with us. Our goal is cooperation, not domination. The room buzzed with quiet discussion as everyone absorbed the plan. Hayes felt a mix of relief and unease. While the idea of building alliances sounded promising, he knew it wouldn't be easy. Many alien civilizations would see humanity as dangerous and unpredictable after what had happened. Convincing them otherwise would take time and effort. Meanwhile, Laura Bennett had returned to Earth under heavy guard. After being rescued from Zorath Prime, she was brought back to debrief officials about her experiences. She recounted every detail, the Council's hostility, Ethan's execution, and her own escape. Her testimony provided valuable insight into the Council's inner workings, helping Earth's leaders understand how to navigate future diplomatic challenges. But Laura wasn't content to simply relive the past. She wanted to honor Ethan's memory by ensuring his sacrifice wasn't wasted. With President Hart's approval, she became a key figure in establishing ethical guidelines for humanity's expansion into space. She argued passionately for transparency, fairness, and respect for other species' rights. "If we act like the Council did," she told Hart during one meeting, "then we're no better than them." Her efforts earned her both praise and criticism. Some saw her as a hero, a symbol of resilience and hope. Others accused her of being too idealistic, warning that kindness could be seen as weakness in a galaxy ruled by power. Despite the backlash, Laura refused to back down. She believed humanity had a chance to chart a new course, one defined not by fear or aggression, but by compassion and understanding. As weeks turned into months, the effects of the battle rippled across the galaxy. Surviving members of the Galactic Council scattered, some seeking refuge with distant colonies, others disappearing entirely. Without a central authority to maintain order, tensions rose among various alien factions. Skirmishes broke out near contested territories, and rumors spread of a potential alliance forming against Earth. Back on Earth, preparations continued. The Vanguard fleet remained on high alert, patrolling nearby star systems to deter any threats. Factories churned out new ships and weapons, while scientists worked tirelessly to improve existing technology. Dr. Dawson led efforts to refine the quantum drive system, hoping to make it faster and more reliable. "If we can master instantaneous travel," she explained to Hayes during one briefing, "we'll have a significant advantage in any conflict." But not everyone focused solely on defense. Diplomatic missions were launched to reach out to neutral species, offering trade agreements and mutual protection pacts. Laura played a crucial role in these efforts, traveling aboard specially equipped ships designed to foster goodwill. Her calm demeanor and genuine interest in other cultures helped ease fears and build bridges where none had existed before. One particularly successful mission involved a reptilian species known as the Vaylans. Initially wary of humanity due to the destruction of Zorath Prime, they agreed to meet with Laura after she sent a personal message expressing her desire for peace. During their talks, she emphasized Earth's commitment to coexistence and offered to share advancements in agriculture and medicine. The Vaylans, impressed by her sincerity, signed a non-aggression pact and pledged to support the Terran Alliance. Not all encounters went so smoothly. Some species rejected Earth's overtures outright, viewing humanity as reckless and untrustworthy. A few even threatened violence if Earth's ships ventured too close to their borders. Each setback served as a reminder of how fragile humanity's position in the galaxy truly was. Amidst these challenges, Admiral Hayes struggled to find balance. On one hand, he was proud of what the fleet had accomplished. They had faced overwhelming odds and emerged victorious, proving humanity's strength and determination. On the other hand, he couldn't ignore the moral implications of their actions. Destroying Zorath Prime had saved countless human lives, but it had also condemned billions of innocents to death. Was it worth it? Could he live with that burden? He found solace in small moments, walking along the coastline near his home, watching the waves crash against the shore, sharing meals with his family, listening to their laughter, reading books that reminded him of simpler times. These activities grounded him, helping him remember why he had chosen this path in the first place. Humanity deserved a chance to thrive, to explore the stars, and discover wonders beyond imagination. If sacrifices had to be made along the way, so be it. Still, Hayes couldn't help but wonder if there might have been another way, a way to achieve victory without resorting to such extreme measures. He often thought about Ethan Cole, whose calm wisdom and unwavering optimism had inspired so many. What would Ethan have done in his place? Would he have fired the Nova cannon, or would he have found a different solution? These questions haunted Hayes long after the battle ended. They stayed with him as he attended ceremonies honoring the fleet's bravery, as he reviewed plans for future missions, and as he watched Laura speak passionately about diplomacy and ethics. Though he never voiced his doubts aloud, they shaped his decisions moving forward, pushing him to seek alternatives to violence whenever possible. By the end of the year, the Terran Alliance had gained traction. Several species had joined, eager to benefit from Earth's technological advancements and economic opportunities. Trade routes expanded, cultural exchanges flourished, and joint research projects yielded groundbreaking discoveries. Slowly but surely, humanity began carving out a niche for itself in the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as partners. Yet shadows lingered on the horizon. Rumors persisted of a coalition forming to oppose Earth's growing influence. Reports trickled in of strange ships lurking at the edges of explored space, their origins unknown. And beneath it all lay the lingering question: had humanity truly learned from its mistakes, or was it doomed to repeat them? For now, though, there was hope. Hope that the lessons of Zorath Prime would guide humanity toward a bright. The Vanguard fleet moved silently through the vast emptiness of space, its ships connected by invisible threads of quantum energy. Admiral Christopher Hayes sat in the command chair aboard the Odyssey, his eyes fixed on the main screen. It displayed a map of the galaxy, with Zorath Prime marked as their destination. The journey had been quick thanks to the quantum drive engines, but now they were approaching enemy territory, and the tension aboard the ship was palpable. Hayes turned to Commander Lisa Grant, his second-in-command. "Status report," he said, his voice calm but firm. "All ships are in position," Grant replied. "Quantum drives are functioning perfectly, and weapon systems are online. We're ready, sir." Hayes nodded, then addressed the entire fleet over the communication system. "This is Admiral Hayes speaking. In a few hours, we'll arrive at Zorath Prime. Our mission is clear. Hold the Council accountable for what they've done to Ethan Cole and humanity. We don't want unnecessary bloodshed, but if they refuse to listen, we won't hesitate to act. Remember, we're fighting not just for revenge, but for our future. Stay sharp, stay focused, and trust in your training. That's all." As the transmission ended, Hayes leaned back in his chair, his mind racing. He knew this mission carried enormous risks. If they failed, it could mean the end of humanity's place among the stars. But if they succeeded, it would send a message that Earth was no longer a weak newcomer. It was a force to be reckoned with. Hours later, the fleet arrived near Zorath Prime. The planet loomed ahead, glowing faintly under its artificial rings. Its floating cities sparkled like jewels against the blackness of space, but to Hayes, it looked more like a fortress than a paradise. Sensors detected dozens of council ships patrolling the area, their sleek designs a stark contrast to the rugged, utilitarian appearance of the human vessels. Before launching an attack, Hayes decided to give the Council one last chance to surrender. He broadcast a message across all frequencies, addressing the Council directly. "This is Admiral Christopher Hayes of the United Earth Government. You have committed an unforgivable crime against humanity by executing our envoy, Ethan Cole. We demand justice. Dissolve your corrupt government, hand over those responsible for this atrocity, and recognize humanity's sovereignty. If you fail to comply, we will take action. This is your final warning." The response came almost immediately. A holographic image appeared on the bridge of the Odyssey, showing Krail, the insect-like council member who had led the accusations against Ethan. His voice was cold and mocking. "You dare threaten us? You are nothing but primitives playing at being civilized. Leave now, or we will destroy you." Hayes clenched his fists, but kept his composure. "Your arrogance blinds you, Krail. Don't say we didn't warn you." With that, he cut the transmission. The battle began moments later. Council ships surged forward, surrounding the Vanguard fleet. Lasers and plasma bolts filled the void of space as both sides opened fire. At first glance, the Council forces seemed to have the upper hand. Their ships were larger and bristling with advanced weaponry. But Hayes had planned for this. "Activate quantum drives," he ordered. The human ships disappeared in flashes of light, reappearing seconds later behind the Council fleet. Using their superior speed and agility, they launched precise strikes against the enemy's weakest points. The Council ships struggled to keep up, their slower maneuvering making them easy targets. On the bridge of the Odyssey, Lieutenant Marcus Reed monitored the tactical display. "Admiral, the Council's shields are weakening on multiple ships. Keep pressing the attack." Hayes gave a small smile. "Target their command vessels, take out their leaders, and the rest will fall into disarray." The human fleet executed his orders flawlessly. One by one, Council ships exploded in bursts of flame and debris. Panic spread among the Council forces as they realized they were losing control of the battle. Krail's voice crackled over the comms, shouting orders that went unheeded. Meanwhile, Laura Bennett watched the chaos unfold from her hiding spot on the planet below. She had managed to find a vantage point where she could see the orbital battle, unfolding above Zorath Prime. Her heart raced as she saw the human ships darting between the Council vessels, dealing devastating blows. For the first time in days, she felt a glimmer of hope. Back aboard the Odyssey, Hayes knew the fight wasn't over yet. The Council still had their capital city protected by powerful planetary defenses, including massive shield generators that could repel even the most advanced weapons. To win, they needed to disable those shields. "Drone squadron, deploy!" Hayes commanded. Dozens of unmanned drones shot out from the human ships, heading straight for the shield generators. They were programmed to self-destruct upon impact, creating enough damage to temporarily bring down the shields. The plan worked. Explosions lit up the surface of Zorath Prime as the drones struck their targets. The Council's defenses faltered, leaving the capital city exposed. Hayes wasted no time. "All ships, focus fire on the Council Palace. Bring it down." The human fleet unleashed a barrage of missiles and energy beams, targeting the towering structure where the Council conducted its business. Glass shattered, metal melted, and entire sections of the building collapsed under the relentless assault. Inside, Krail and the other Council members scrambled to evacuate, their confidence shattered. But Hayes wasn't done yet. He turned to Commander Grant. "Prepare the Nova Cannon." Grant hesitated. "Sir, are you sure?" "Firing the Nova Cannon will destroy the entire planet. Billions of innocent lives—" "I know," Hayes interrupted, his voice heavy with regret. "But this isn't just about punishing the Council. It's about sending a message to every species out there. No one messes with Earth and gets away with it. If we show mercy now, they'll see it as weakness." Grant nodded reluctantly. "Understood." "Sir, charging the Nova Cannon." As the weapon powered up, Hayes made one final attempt to reason with the Council. He broadcast another message, this time directly to Krail. "Surrender now, and we'll spare your planet. Refuse, and Zorath Prime will cease to exist." Krail's reply was defiant. "You wouldn't dare. You lack the stomach for such destruction." Hayes sighed. "You're wrong." With that, he gave the order to fire. The Nova Cannon roared to life, releasing a pulse of energy so powerful it lit up the entire region of space. When the beam struck Zorath Prime, the planet erupted in a blinding explosion. Within seconds, the once beautiful world was reduced to ash and rubble. Silence fell over the bridge of the Odyssey. The crew stared at the screen, unable to look, away from the devastation they had caused. Hayes sat motionless, his face unreadable. He had done what he believed was necessary, but the weight of his decision pressed down on him like a mountain. On the surface of the now destroyed planet, Laura watched the sky burn with a mixture of awe and horror. She had known the humans would strike back, but she hadn't imagined it would be this devastating. Tears streamed down her face as she thought of all the lives lost, including those of innocent beings who had played no part in the Council's crimes. Yet deep down, she understood why it had to happen. Humanity couldn't afford to appear weak, not after everything they'd endured. As the dust settled, the remaining Council ships fled the battlefield, abandoning their posts in fear. The human fleet regrouped, battered but victorious. Hayes opened a channel to address his crew. "We did what we had to do," he said, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside him. "Today, the galaxy learned that humanity will not tolerate injustice. Let's head home and begin rebuilding." The fleet turned away from the wreckage of Zorath Prime, leaving behind a scarred corner of the universe. Though they had won the battle, Hayes knew the war for humanity's place among the stars was far from over. Still, for the first time in years, Earth stood tall, its name echoing across the cosmos as a symbol of strength and resolve. Back on Earth, life was moving forward as usual, or at least it seemed that way. People went about their days, unaware of the storm brewing light years away. The United Earth government had kept Ethan Cole's mission quiet, sharing only vague details with the public. Most people knew he was representing humanity in talks with the Galactic Council, but few understood how high the stakes were. That changed when Laura's message arrived. The transmission reached Earth late one evening, crackling through space like a desperate cry for help. It landed in the secure communications center of the Global Defense Network, where technicians scrambled to decode and verify its contents. When they finally played the recording, silence fell over the room. The footage showed everything: Ethan's calm demeanor during the hearings, the council's accusations, and then the horrifying moment when he was executed. Laura's voice trembled as she described what had happened, her words filled with anger and sorrow. Within hours, the message made its way to President Daniel Hart. A tall man with graying hair and sharp eyes, Hart had served 2 terms as leader of the United Earth government. He prided himself on being a steady hand in times of crisis, but this was different. As he watched the recording in his private office, his jaw tightened and his hands clenched into fists. This wasn't just an insult, it was an act of war. Hart called an emergency meeting with his top advisors, including General Rachel Monroe and Admiral Christopher Hayes. The 3 of them gathered in the Situation Room, a dimly lit chamber deep beneath the government headquarters. Screens displayed maps of Earth, star charts, and images of the Galactic Council's ships. The mood was tense, with everyone speaking in low, urgent tones. "We can't let this stand," Hart said, breaking the silence. "If we do nothing, every alien race out there will see us as weak. They'll think they can walk all over us." "General," Monroe nodded. "Agreed, sir. But we're talking about the Galactic Council. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. If we retaliate, we need to be smart about it." Admiral Hayes leaned forward, his face grim. "We've been preparing for something like this. Project Dawnbreaker has given us options we didn't have before. We might not be able to match their numbers, but we can hit them where it hurts." Project Dawnbreaker was Earth's secret weapon, a classified initiative led by Dr. Emily Dawson, a brilliant scientist who had spent years developing revolutionary technology. Her team had created quantum drive engines capable of instantaneous travel across vast distances, along with advanced weaponry designed to level the playing field against more powerful foes. The project had been kept hidden even from most government officials, a last-ditch effort to protect humanity if diplomacy failed. Hart turned to Hayes. "How ready are we? Can we strike back effectively? Hayes hesitated, weighing his words carefully. We have 12 ships equipped with quantum drives. They're fast, agile, and armed with experimental weapons. But it's risky. If the Council sees us coming, they'll crush us. Monroe added, and there's no guarantee the other Council members won't side with Zorath Prime. We could end up facing multiple species at once. Hart rubbed his temples, thinking hard. What about Laura Bennett? Is she still alive? Yes, sir, replied one of the analysts. Her message suggests she's being held captive, but she managed to escape detection long enough to send the recording. Good, Hart said. She's our link to what's happening inside the Council. We need to find a way to get her out safely while we plan our next move. As the meeting continued, word of Ethan's execution began leaking to the public. News outlets picked up fragments of the story, sparking outrage across the globe. Protests erupted in major cities, with crowds chanting slogans like "Justice for Ethan" and "No more betrayal." Social media exploded with posts condemning the Council and calling for action. For the first time in decades, humanity felt united, not by hope, but by anger. President Hart addressed the nation later that night, standing behind a podium in the Grand Hall of the United Earth Assembly. Cameras captured his stern expression as he spoke directly to the people. Today, we received devastating news, he began. Ethan Cole, one of our finest diplomats, was unjustly executed by the Galactic Council. This act of aggression cannot and will not go unanswered. We will hold those responsible accountable, and we will ensure that humanity's voice is heard throughout the galaxy. His speech was met with cheers, but also fear. Many wondered if Earth stood any chance against the Council's superior forces. Skeptics argued that retaliation would only lead to disaster, while others insisted it was the only way to protect humanity's future. Despite the uncertainty, one thing was clear. Earth was preparing for war. Meanwhile, on Zorath Prime, Laura worked tirelessly to stay alive. After sending her message, she knew she couldn't trust anyone, not the guards watching her quarters, not the Council members who had sentenced her to captivity, and certainly not Krail, whose hatred for humanity seemed boundless. She spent her days observing routines, memorizing patrol schedules, and searching for weaknesses in the Council's security systems. One evening, while pretending to sleep, Laura noticed a faint blinking light near the corner of her room. It was part of the brooch Ethan had given her, a secondary function she hadn't known about. When she pressed it, a holographic map appeared, showing escape routes and potential hiding spots within the complex. Ethan had thought of everything. Over the next few days, Laura prepared for her escape. She gathered scraps of fabric to fashion a disguise, used leftover food to create distractions, and studied the behavior of the Council's staff. Her heart raced every time someone entered her room, but she forced herself to remain calm. Timing was everything. Finally, the opportunity came. During a shift change, Laura slipped out of her quarters, blending into the crowd of workers heading to their stations. She moved quickly, sticking to shadows and avoiding eye contact. The map from the brooch guided her through labyrinthine corridors until she reached a maintenance tunnel leading outside. Once free, Laura activated another feature of the brooch, a distress signal programmed to alert Earth's fleet if she ever needed rescue. She didn't know how long it would take for help to arrive, but she trusted that Ethan's preparations would pay off. Hiding in a dense forest near the Council's capital city, she waited, her mind racing with thoughts of revenge and justice. Back on Earth, Admiral Hayes assembled the Vanguard fleet, naming it after humanity's determination to defend itself. Each ship bore a name inspired by human history: Odyssey, Liberty, Phoenix, Unity, and others. At the center of the fleet was the flagship, Odyssey, armed with the Nova Cannon, a weapon capable of unleashing catastrophic destruction. Though Hayes hoped to avoid using it, he knew it might be necessary to send a message to the stars. Before departing, Hayes visited Dr. Emily Dawson at the research facility where Project Dawnbreaker had taken shape. Dawson was a petite woman, with curly brown hair and glasses that magnified her intense gaze. She greeted him warmly, but looked concerned when he explained the mission. "This isn't just a test run anymore," she said. "These ships weren't built for full-scale combat. If something goes wrong—" "It won't," Hayes interrupted, firmly. "Your team did incredible work, Emily. Trust me, we'll make you proud." Dawson nodded, though worry lingered in her eyes. "Just promise me one thing," she said. "Bring them home." With that, Hayes boarded the Odyssey and gave the order to launch. The fleet departed Earth's orbit under the cover of darkness, slipping into the void of space like ghosts. Their destination, Zorath Prime. Their objective, justice. As the ships traveled through the quantum drive network, Hayes reviewed Laura's message again. Her words echoed in his mind, fueling his resolve. Humanity had been pushed too far, and now it was time to push back. Whatever happened next, the galaxy would never forget the name of Earth. Unbeknownst to Hayes and his crew, the Galactic Council had already detected their approach. Sensors picked up traces of quantum energy, alerting Krail and his allies to the incoming threat. Confident in their superiority, the Council dismissed the human fleet as insignificant. They prepared for battle, unaware of the storm heading there. Way light years apart, two sides readied themselves for conflict. On one side stood the Galactic Council, arrogant and dismissive. On the other stood humanity, wounded but determined. The stage was set for a confrontation that would reshape the destiny of the cosmos, and nothing would ever be the same again. In the year 2347, humanity had finally reached a point where it could no longer be ignored by the rest of the galaxy. For decades, Earth's scientists and explorers had been scanning the stars, sending probes and signals into the vast unknown, hoping to find proof that they were not alone. When the first alien ship arrived in orbit around Earth, it was both terrifying and exhilarating. The beings aboard identified themselves as members of the Galactic Council, an alliance of advanced civilizations that governed much of the known universe. At first, there was fear. People panicked at the sight of massive ships hovering above their cities. But soon, communication was established. The Council explained that they had been observing humanity for centuries, waiting for the right moment to make contact. That moment had come because humanity had begun spreading beyond its solar system, colonizing nearby planets and moons. This expansion caught the Council's attention, and now they wanted to meet the species responsible. Earth's leaders were divided on how to proceed. Some argued that joining the Council would bring prosperity, knowledge, and protection. Others worried about losing independence or becoming pawns in galactic politics. After months of intense debate, the decision was made. Humanity would send representatives to Zorath Prime, the Council's capital world, to discuss terms of membership. Ethan Cole was chosen to lead the delegation. A calm and thoughtful man, in his late 40s, Ethan had spent most of his life working as a diplomat. He had negotiated treaties between nations and resolved conflicts within Earth's own borders. His assistant, Laura Bennett, was younger but equally skilled. She had a sharp mind and a knack for understanding people, which made her invaluable during negotiations. Together, they prepared for what might be the most important mission in human history. The journey to Zorath Prime took several weeks, even with the advanced engines of the Council's transport vessel. Ethan and Laura spent the time reviewing every detail they knew about the Council and its members. There were dozens of species involved, each with its own culture, values, and priorities. Some seemed friendly, while others appeared distant and suspicious. One thing was clear. The Council held immense power, and earning their trust wouldn't be easy. When they arrived, Zorath Prime was unlike anything Ethan or Laura had ever seen. The planet glowed faintly under artificial rings that encircled it, providing light and energy to its inhabitants. Cities floated high above the surface, connected by shimmering bridges of light. It was beautiful, but also intimidating. As they stepped off the ship, they felt the weight of being outsiders in a place so far removed from home. Their initial meetings went smoothly. The council members greeted them politely, though some seemed more curious than welcoming. Ethan spoke eloquently about humanity's achievements, their art, science, and dreams of exploring the stars. He emphasized peace and cooperation, assuring the council that Earth sought only to learn and grow alongside them. Laura observed carefully, noting which species leaned forward with interest and which ones remained stoic. But not everyone was impressed. A group of council members, led by a tall, insect-like creature named Krail, questioned humanity's intentions. "You are newcomers," Krail said during one session, his voice harsh and rasping. "Your kind has barely left its cradle, yet you claim territory among the stars. What gives you the right?" Ethan didn't flinch. "We seek only what is necessary for our survival," he replied. "Our growth is guided by caution and respect for others. We wish to coexist, not conquer." Krail wasn't convinced. Over the next few days, tensions grew. Accusations flew back and forth, with some council members accusing humanity of violating laws they hadn't even known existed. Ethan tried to remain patient, explaining that Earth's actions had been unintentional, but the hostility escalated. Laura noticed subtle changes in the way the council treated them. Fewer invitations to social events, colder tones in conversations, and whispers behind closed doors. Then came the tipping point. During a formal hearing, Krail presented evidence, or what he claimed was evidence, that Earth had secretly mined resources from unclaimed territories. The accusations were false, fabricated to justify action against humanity. Ethan argued, passionately, pointing out inconsistencies in the data and reminding the council of their principles. But it was no use. The council had already decided. Ethan was called before them one final time. Laura accompanied him, standing silently at his side as the council delivered their verdict. "Ethan Cole," one of the council members announced, "you stand accused of espionage and illegal expansion. Your actions have threatened the stability of the galaxy. For these crimes, you will be executed," Laura gasped, gripping Ethan's arm. "No!" she cried. "This isn't justice." Ethan placed a hand on hers, steadying her. His face was pale but composed. "It's all right, Laura," he said, softly. Then, turning to the council, he added, "If my death serves your purpose, then so be it. But know this, humanity will not forget." Before either of them could react further, a beam of energy shot through the chamber, striking Ethan directly. In an instant, he was gone, leaving nothing behind but silence. Laura stumbled backward, tears streaming down her face. The council watched impassively, unmoved by her grief. "You will remain here," one of the council members told her. "Your fate will be decided later." Alone and overwhelmed, Laura retreated to her quarters. Her mind raced with thoughts of revenge, despair, and disbelief. How could this happen? Why had the council acted so cruelly? And what would become of Earth now? Little did she know, Ethan had prepared for such an outcome. Before leaving Earth, he had given her a small device disguised as a brooch. "In case things go wrong," he had said with a sad smile. Now, clutching the brooch tightly, Laura realized it might be her only hope, not just for escape, but for exposing the truth to the world. As night fell over Zorath Prime, Laura activated the device. It hummed quietly as it recorded everything: the lies, the betrayal, the execution. When the message was complete, she transmitted it back to Earth. Knowing it would ignite a firestorm, humanity deserved to know what had happened to their envoy and why. What followed changed everything.